So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for attending our session today. We'll be talking about designing decisions, right? And how a lot of the things that we're doing in conjunction with our dear friend Brian Pash, who's on the call with us today, can impact your business. So I'll kind of host and guide us through some things today. My name is Jeremy. I'm a Senior Director of Product Operations over here at Trade Pending. And I am joined by Lauren Sweat on our team. And Lauren, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Jeremy. Hi, I'm Lauren. I am the Director of Customer Success here at Trade Pending. Happy to be here and looking forward to speaking with you all today. And then we also have Brian here, founder of Pash Group. And Brian, I'll let you do some more introductions of yourself as well.
Well, it's 21 years later, still loving the automotive industry. And, for the last year, I've been really focusing on helping dealers increase their conversion rates. And this webinar today is really a culmination of some work we've done together with Trade Pending and the Morgan Auto Group and some other groups and some new things. So I think we should get started, Jeremy. What do you think?
I think we should get started, Brian. Let's do it.
So I want to let everyone know that you can go to patchgroup.com under research and download the latest version. It's just opened right now, updated version of this case study, or you could use the QR code because we only have 30 minutes today. So we're going to go quickly. And a lot of the backup data is in this research report. So Lauren, when you dealing with customers, right, isn't one of their primary concerns, other than making sure the numbers are right, that they get a lot of leads? Is that a common theme on your customer support calls?
Oh, absolutely. When we ask about goals, it's always getting more leads and getting more sales.
So when we look back, and we can even chuckle that every month a general manager is going to talk to their marketing director and say, how do we get more leads? How do we get more leads? So in this webinar, we're going to take the next 30 minutes to describe how you can measure how your website's working, what you should expect from your online tools, what are some of the factors that impact conversion, and then how to move forward with confidence. And I want to thank Jeremy and his team for supporting what we call the ASC specification, which is a specification designed to standardize how we track engagement and conversions on the website. There's a couple basic things that I want to make sure we understand: that the data in Google Analytics is different than the data in the CRM. So in Google Analytics, when somebody comes and submits a form, they may calculate a payment once, come back 2 days later, calculate another payment, do a trade on a third visit. Those all go in. So GA4 will show more individual leads. And then when they send those leads to the CRM will combine records. So you can never see how your website's doing by looking at your CRM. Here's the other point. If you have an easy pop-up tool like get a $500 coupon or unlock price, those leads typically get into the CRM first and get attribution for the lead. The second and third and fourth lead are part of the update record, but normally not part of lead attribution or lead closing rates. Jeremy, that has to be a little frustrating, right? When you're doing trade, payment, credit, what I call high value CTAs, and a pop-up coupon gets all the credit for the lead.
It's incredibly frustrating, right? And you could look at that from two different sides of the table, right? For us, that's something that's always a challenge on the vendor side, because of course we want to articulate our value to someone who is using our tools. And previously being on the retail side, that was always a challenge, to really understand how my tools are performing because we invest a lot of money into those tools as dealers, right? And we invest a lot of man hours and effort and blood, sweat, and tears to get our teams to use tools and to learn how to respond to leads and do all of those things. And we really want to have a good sense of what's actually working for us and what isn't, and how to improve what we're currently doing, right? So it's a real challenge from both sides, I think.
Yeah, so let's just be very clear. The CRM is not to be used for conversion optimization. So why has it been hard to know how each of your buttons are performing and creating changes to increase overall leads? Number one, there were no standards before we created the ASC specification. Dealer websites and tools either supported analytics or didn't, but they made up their own names. So it was like a Rubik's Cube trying to figure out what's really happening on the website. There was also no pressure from the marketplace for transparency. And that's really what my whole career has been about, forcing transparency. And then data, well, there's a lot of data in Google Analytics, but there was no framework. How do we actually measure the CTA performance? And today we're going to talk about that. And then the fourth thing is just practical, the amount of time. I've been doing this for a long time, and up until recently, where I've been able to automate this has been a headache. It's like, oh, I got to do another CTA analysis, and it would be like chuckle, chuckle. And listen, I'm sure, Lauren, that your customers ask you, what should my buttons say, or how many buttons should I have, right? And isn't it a common question like, I like your tools, but how should I use them?
Oh, absolutely. We run into this all the time. And when we're meeting with dealers, one of the things we're consistently looking at is that CTA strategy. And oftentimes we see that dealers really want to keep all of their CTAs, and it's a hard decision to decide which ones to keep on the page and which ones not to keep on the CTA stack.
Well, that's why we're going to get to the meat right now. I want to make sure we have everyone's attention. The CRM isn't what you use to optimize your website. You have to use Google Analytics. And up until recently, there wasn't a standard. So now there is a standard. You should understand that there's two primary events that help us calculate how well a CTA button is working. That's how many times the button's clicked, and then how many leads come from that specific button. And by the way, if you want a copy of this deck, I'm sure you can just reach out to Jeremy or Lauren, and you can have this to share with your team. Let's look at an example. This is one of the Morgan Auto Group stores. This is their CTA stack. This is Run My Lease, the green button. The 10-second trade, calculate your payment is trade pending. Check availability is just a standard web form, and the Capital One button. How do you know how each button's working? I just want to be very clear. When I click on the 10-second trade in Google Analytics, that ASC CTA interaction event fired. Remember, that's the one I was telling you, ASC CTA interaction. And when I submit a lead, the lead submission event fires. It looks something like this. When I click on the unlock, this Run My Lease form pops up, and they send an event in analytics. And this is not too technical. It's really important that you understand the concept. They tell me what the button said, unlock best price. They tell me I was on a VDP, that's item. They tell me it was a new car, and they tell me it's them, Run My Lease. When they submit the lead, if the customer fills it out by finalizing the transaction, they send me another event, ASC form submission sales. They say the form was unlocked, so I can match up clicks to leads. It's on a VDP, it's a new car, and it's me. For trade pending, same site. If they click on the 10-second trade value, ASC CT interaction fires. Trade pending, it's their tool. They send me that event with element text 10-second trade. When someone clicks on Get the Market Report, they're going to send me the form submission sales event, a sales lead, using their form name Market Report. You would just need to know that that's the trade value market report is called Market Report. It's because of these two events and the parameters that are set in conjunction with the event is how we can calculate performance. So the metric that you need to know is called CTA completion rate, CCR. It's the number of leads, for example, from the 10-second trade value, number of leads, trade leads, divided by the number of times it was clicked. And here's an example, right? 152 leads from 227 clicks. It's a 67% CCR. This is one of the trade pending payment tools on one of the Morgan sites, 67%. That's an amazing benchmark. Now, here's the bottom line. What is the standard? Your CCR should be over 25%. And you may say, Brian, that's awful low. You mean 1 out of 4 people finishing a process? That's good? Well, there's a lot of reasons why it's that low. A great performing CCR is 35 to 55%. And if it's over 55%, you really have the right tool at the right location. And Jeremy, you and I have been tracking this, and I think the key here that everyone needs to know is you can't test one website and then roll it out for the group. Every website platform, every OEM in every market has to be tested, right? We've seen a lot of variation on this.
100% true. 100% true.
So what I want you to understand is when you talk to Lauren or another account management, performance management specialist, do not say, let's just focus on one site, test the buttons, and push it out to the whole group. It's really important. And I'm using a few examples. For example, the unlock. The unlock isn't a trade pending. This isn't a sales pitch for trade pending. This is a project that showed how well trade pending was doing, but how do we determine all buttons? Even somebody who might be competitive, like a Capital One button. So what I wanted to let you understand is the reason why you can't use the CRM, your CRM might say, oh, you got 460 leads, but there was actually 1,250 actual conversions, but a customer did a payment and did a trade or they did an unlock. That's why you can't use your CRM. You have to look at each individual example. And here's a perfect example. In the Morgan Auto Group, CCR for the unlock ranged from 18.5 to 40%. Now, I don't know about you. You would say, like, what do you mean? It's the same button, it's on new cars. Guess what? Used cars and new cars perform differently. And more importantly, MSRP only. MSRP only vehicles. So if you're a Subaru dealer or you're a BMW, something where you only can show MSRP, you put it on lock on a new car, MSRP only, and you're going to be anywhere from 12 to 20%. And this is the point of this webinar. If you have a CCR that's under 20%, you got the wrong call to action. You're doing the wrong thing. And Jeremy, I think this is hard for people to understand because they're like, oh, but the unlock gets me so many leads. But if they look on their new cars and only 11% of those people who clicked on it are going through, that means 9 out of 10 people are disappointed. The average for the whole company might look good, but it's not correct.
Absolutely. Yeah. At the end of the day, the numbers do not lie.
Yes. And here's, I'm going to say it again. Do not come off this webinar, oh, the unlock button isn't working. No, the unlock button works in many circumstances, but in some it's horrible. A lot of it has to do, believe it or not, with the math block. That little price block, I call it the math block. If you show an MSRP and you show a discount, maybe even a rebate, and you have a selling price, in this case, 52,000, unlock works twice as good as if you just had MSRP on a new vehicle. So you have to ask yourself, how many buttons, right? works. And here's the other big one. Does Capital One conflict or bastardize your performance with payments? This is another big one. I'm going to tell you, you have to test everything, but in most cases, since Capital One is a recognized brand, the Capital One button did not detract or dilute. It actually was a net positive. Capital One has a very high CCR in most cases. The question is, what if you have two other buttons, as Lauren said? What if you have check availability? What if you have schedule a test drive? And here's the point. If those CCRs are 5%, 9%, 8%, and they look horrible on a mobile device, and you are really frustrating more customers and helping, then you have to do testing to change the CTAs. Okay. So what I also found is luxury versus non-luxury brand trade payments vary greatly. The ratio. And you may say, Brian, I never even thought that I should look at that, but you should. It's like, what should be the first button for a luxury store versus a non-luxury store? And so what we looked at, and I know it's a little small, but we looked at the ratio of like a luxury car. So payments to trade for this BMW store were 1.1 to 1. The Lexus store, 1.25. When we look at some of the other stores, like the CDJR store, it was almost 4 to 1, 4 times as many payments than trade. Why do I bring this up? We've never had a way to measure the performance, the preference, the engagement rate. I'm just going to give you an example, and I think we'll show it a little bit. But a good payment button on a VDP doesn't get clicked all the time, but at least 10% of the time it does. You would say, well, everyone who goes to a VDP wants to look at payment. No, it don't. But what if you have a button that gets clicked less than 1% of the time? Then you have to ask yourself, am I really forcing my customers upper stack with buttons that are not working? I'm going to say it again. Every brand, every website, meaning website platform, dealer on, dealer inspire, dealer e-process, team velocity, everyone has to be tested individually. Lauren, do you see the maybe some of the frustration that dealers have because maybe they didn't realize that a BMW store with MSRP only will perform very different than a Chrysler or a Stellantis store with a very detailed math block?
Yes, absolutely. We see often where we're meeting with dealer groups and they do want to standardize across all the stores. So, what's your ultimate suggestion for that?
Well, the key here is you will start to get a feel for the power of the math block. The math block, and this is a problem. And listen, I'm not here to bash anyone, but the OEMs who force MSRP only are hurting conversion compared to a like competitor brand that has a detailed math block. The data shows it. So you have to be creative. If unlock on an MSRP only luxury site doesn't work that well, then maybe it's not that customer doesn't want to play the unlock game. It's like the price is right. Maybe it's see dealer price. That may be something that would be more attractive to a luxury shopper. But Lauren, the answer, and Jeremy and I have been working on this, is there's 5 levers, if you think of a factory, to get more leads. These are the 5 levers. And CTA stack is where trade pending sits today, right? Is the power pack stands above the crowd in its ability to convert because the power pack of trade, payment, and credit answers the primary questions that a shopper has when they're ready to come down into that final research phase. The other things, website bloat, traffic quality, the merchandising, the math block, and this is, Lauren, where you can help your customers,
Mhm.
help them understand the power of the math block, and then making sure the dealers using vendors that support the ASC spec. Because listen, this is not self-promoting. The ASC is a industry standard that has wide support. Why would you use a vendor that won't send events properly into Google Analytics? Jeremy, look, you and I have worked out some of the kinks even in your events. But if a company really wants to be a website conversion optimization partner, they have to send events in the GA4. Wouldn't you agree?
Have to. At this, when you and I first started talking about this, and what level of insight and what benefits it would bring to not just us, but also to dealers, it really became a no brainer.
Yeah. And so let's talk about it. One of the things I wanted to tease out today is something I've been working on underground. We're going to formally announce the product at DMSC. Is when you have 30 stores, Lauren, right? You're asking the question. So what do I tell my dealers? When you have 30 stores, you may have 3 different website platforms. Are you going to manually calculate these all the time? And remember, I told you there's 5 levers. So one of the automated reports is how many GTM containers and analytics accounts are on the site. Too much code slows down. But I'm going to say this is kind of normal. Look at this one. This is actually a dealer we just scanned yesterday. 13 GTM containers, 4 different Google Ad Agency account, 14 analytics, one old GA3. For people who are watching, this means that previous vendors who had access to this dealer's data were never kicked off the site. And I'm not saying anybody's doing something intentionally wrong, but I wouldn't want 14 different parties seeing all my traffic and conversions. I really don't need 13 different vendor, OEM, or advertising GTM containers. It's hard to do this in scale. This is part of a standard report. Here's another one. Who's sitting on my website and are they sending events, right? Automated report. If it says no, you call up the vendor and say you have to support. This is another one that's hard. What other stuff is bolted onto my site that I don't even know? Jeremy, you and I have talked about this. Some scripts that are loaded on dealer websites slow down how your buttons load on the page.
Absolutely, yeah.
So someone's on a mobile phone, they go to a VDP, we've all seen it, or a desktop, and the page loads and then the page shifts and buttons get drawn, and it's because there's a lot of crap being loaded up. This is a real dealer site with this many advertising, tags, and merchandising tools loaded up. Here's the winner chicken dinner. And this, Lauren, is going to be really helpful for you and your customers who are using KPI. New car and used car VDP, new car and used car SRP automatically calculated for each button and the CCR. And I want to make a point here. I specifically showed a dealer where this particular dealer, the CCR for the trade on used cars was 11%. For new cars, it's over 25%. Here's the point. The merchandising stack and how the buttons are done and what keywords you're buying. Remember I said the quality of traffic, bloat, quality of traffic, CTA stack. You with me? These are all the things we want to show that if 25% is the minimum, what's different about this page that one of my CTA buttons that converts very well isn't performing as well?
Yeah,
So
that's
here's the
wonderful, Brian. It sounds like KPI really allows dealers to focus more on action instead of just data collection. Great insight.
That's right. And here's what I want to tell dealers. Test your buttons for 30 days. Please do not do, oh, I tested the button for 5 days. You could start at the beginning of a month, run your report, you have it archived, Then you run it again and you see the impact in conversion. This is the first time benchmarking CCR in a automatic way works. So here's what you have to be able to do. Understand you can't calculate one website and push out the buttons. Okay. You have fluctuations on OEM brand because of pricing block. You have implications because of how the tools are built. Now, trade pending tools are very smooth, but there's some tools that are out there that are kind of rough, especially on a mobile device. Then you have to test different CTAs. If your CCR is low, in your case, Lauren, you would work with your customers and say, hey, let's look at the CCR for all your buttons this month. Hey, on your used cars, this check availability, it's getting 3% CCR. It looks like a button that can go, let's simplify the used car page. You see what I'm saying? Like no one's clicking on it. And even if they click on it, they're not finishing it. So we want to test and automation and then data-driven improvements. Jeremy, you saw, because look, we've worked on every troubleshooting thing in the world with tools, is that when you cut down all the crap on the website and you see the page loading faster, guess what? Button problems go away and conversions increase. I think AutoGenius made a great study about that, that faster loading pages give you higher conversion rates. So here are the best practices. Your primary CTA should stand out. It should be what I call a color violator, okay? Limit the CTAs. Find out the ones that are working using CCR. And if they're an important one, like trade, figure out where performance is high and low and make testing changes. Here's the thing, the value exchange, and I'm not putting down any company. I'm just saying if I had to come back in a different life, I would have built a pop-up coupon and unlock because they get into the CRM first and they look great on the CRM lead performance report. These run my lease leads or this $500 coupon, they're the best thing in the world. The truth is they mask the real value exchange CTAs. And honestly, yes, we play games with price, and I am not going to get into that. But the shopper needs are typically what's my car worth? What can I afford? And what my payment is going to be. And please, you have to test CCR desktop and mobile. CCR desktop and mobile. So keep the call to actions that have weak CCR limited. I mean, today, most people know that the car is there if it's on the website. Contact us doesn't need to be a big button on a VDP or SRP. They know how to contact you. It's called the phone or the chat bubble that's popping up on every page. And just make sure that when your unlock game doesn't work, I see unlock at 12% CCR. It's not working. Don't force it. Don't say, well, it's working on every other site. I'm just going, no, don't let your own data guide. Okay. The team at Trade Pending and I have been working hard on this. They really want to be your conversion optimization partner. They've really worked hard with me to get every event, every parameter working so you can know exactly, like if you say, this is my power stack, and a lot of Morgan stores have settled on this. Why? Because it performs well, customers like it. But as I mentioned, there are going to be stores where this stack does not work. It could be half the performance. And if you bolt that onto an MSRP only store or a special highline store, guess what's going to happen? It's half your leads. And then you wonder why you're struggling. Okay, so takeaways as we come up on our half hour. CCR is the crucial KPI to know how to improve conversion rate. It's one of the 5 levers to improve conversion. Use data, not your gut, not what you heard at a 20 group, right, Lauren? It's like, oh, I went to a 20 group and the dealer said, this is the text on the button. It's like, get Dumpy's price, and you're like, really? You want to say get Dumpy's price? Um, you have to do this regularly. And by the way, I showed you what the formula was. You can do it in analytics manually. I'm not here to say you have to use a product like KPI, but if you have multiple stores, it's tough to be using the 7 to 10 tools you need to optimize those 5 levers manually. And there are free tools in the research report. In the research report, we show some of the free tools like the GTAG inspector and others that show how to look at all the bloat on your website. But the key here is for the CTAs. Don't copy what the guy's doing down the street. Work with vendors who are transparent, who support the ASC spec, and allow you to create sustainable testing framework of changing a CTA text, inspecting CCR, trying a different color, trying a different design. Is it 4 buttons? Is it 3 buttons? More and more dealers are reducing buttons on SRPs and pushing most of that work to the VDP. In fact, Carvana and CarMax have taken all buttons practically off their SRPs. You say, well, I'm going to do that. No, just don't do it for all your stores. You have to test it. If you love what you heard today and you want some more hands-on training, I'm doing a 2-hour workshop on website conversion optimization. The team from Trade Pending will be there. There's a lot of great conversations that will help you with your overall website conversion optimization project. So if you haven't registered, please do that. And if you are coming to DMSC, I will run a KPI report for one of your stores, have it waiting for you so that in my workshop, you can have a clear plan on how to automate inspecting the 5 levers, right? Your website bloat, your um, traffic quality, your CTA stack, right? All of the elements that we're talking about today. Lauren, you work with your customers all the time.
Yes, all the
Um,
time. We are here to help dealers translate these insights into actions and outcomes. So please reach out if you need any assistance.
yes, please reach out to your support team. Download this because it has a lot of details. We can't cover everything in 30 minutes, but here's the point. Download this and then call up your support team at Trade Pending, and they would love to help you make sure that you can calculate and measure the CCR for all your buttons on a regular basis. Jeremy, I'm going to turn it back to you for a final.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, and I just thought we did have a couple of questions coming here just a moment ago. So
Yeah.
perfect timing. We had a question came in and said, for the testing, what exactly are you recommending dealers do? Are you recommending a CRO tool or just adjusting the CTAs and seeing what happens as a before or after?
Yeah. So in regards to this specific topic, this is one of the 5 levers that improve conversion. So I would calculate the CCR for each of your buttons, new, used, SRP, and VDP. And then when you have any CTA buttons that are, let's just say under 20%, I would then look at those pages, determine what you may want to test, change the CTA order, change the CTA text, and then track it for 30 days. Now you'll have enough data probably in 2 weeks, but track it for 30 days and repeat this cycle. You want all of your CTA buttons to be well over 25% for the majority of the cases. And you will see power performance in that 40 to 60 range, and just understand what that means. At 60% CCR, you're getting 3 times as many leads as a button with a CCR of 20%. That's why you can't just test one website. You have to test each website and the design of the new and used VDPs and SRPs. That's what you need to start with. What is my baseline CCR for all my pages?
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. Well, with that, I know we went a few minutes over, but I'd like to just take a moment to thank everybody who participated in the webinar. Well, Lauren and Brian who joined me today, and as well as everybody who took time out of their busy day and their really important selling hours to come and share your afternoon with us. So thank you to all of you who joined in. We will, of course, share out the recording and make that available to anybody that may have had to step away or do anything during the course of the call. But thanks again for everyone that attended, and we'll see you next time.